Hi friends, by the end of this video, some of you may actually experience a sense of freedom and lightness. That's right, because we are going to be talking about one of the big reason why we experience emotional distress. And this emotional distress we could be experienced in our marriage, relationship, career, health, and wealth. And I'm going to be sharing with you examples of this reason in all of these areas in this video itself. So friends, let's get started. The biggest reason where we experience emotional distress is unrealistic expectation. That's right. You have heard about this, but today in this video, I'm going to be talking about this term, understanding the thoughts behind it, understanding how we can resolve it, understanding how it impacts us firstly, and having detailed level examples of the life areas I spoke earlier. Friends, before we understand unrealistic expectations, the first question is how do I actually identify whether my expectation is realistic or unrealistic? So let's talk about that. How do we actually identify it? Friends, unrealistic expectations comes from unrealistic thoughts. These thoughts are unrealistic that we have about our own self, that's category 1, about other people around us, that's category 2, and the world around us. Let me give you an examples. Self demands, the thoughts such as I must always succeed, I should never be anxious, I should never make mistakes, I should always look good, people should always respect me. Friends, these are the thoughts which are extremely unrealistic about our own self. Thoughts that we have about other people. They should know what I need. People must treat me fairly. These are thoughts, again, very unrealistic thoughts that we have about other people. And third category, about the world in general. Life should be fair. Things must go the way I plan. Government should do just the way and just what they are supposed to do. Friends, once we have these thoughts, again, these are very unrealistic. These thoughts are actually called as demanding thoughts. It is a kind of a cognitive distortion or a thinking mistake to call it in simple ways. And in this video, I will share with you examples in all these areas, as well as I'm going to share with you categories of these people, examples, how they think and how we can correct them. So friends, before we get there, let's understand the thinking pattern. This thinking pattern is actually called masturbation or should be statements. When we are thinking in terms of I must do this, I should do this, he must say that, he should behave that way, or you should do this, this is the way in which we form the rigidity in our expectation. This is where our expectations become unrealistic. And that's why, friends, our reality, when it doesn't match with our expectation, that is where we get distressed, we get the strain on a relationship, there are self-esteem issues, there is a lot of dissatisfaction within us, and there is avoidance behavior as well. The root cause of all of this impact is that thought that contains that should be, must be, have to be thinking patterns. So friends, now what is the solution? Solution is very, very simple. The awareness to identify these thoughts, which thoughts there should be, have to be, must do, and replace them with helpful ways of thinking. This is a framework solution, my friends. Let us look at the steps. The steps goes like first we identify that thought, then we examine the supporting evidence and the contradictory evidence. Then we challenge that thought. Then we replace or reframe that thought. And then we practice balanced way of thinking. If this is getting overwhelming, don't worry. I will share with you examples and this concept will become very clear. And as I said before in the first slide, some of you will actually experience freedom and lightness after this video. So I would still like to hold on to my commitment. Let's proceed with examples. In the area of health, if the scenario is I must follow my diet or I am unhealthy. Now look at the thought. Thought is I must follow my diet perfectly. Now let's look at the supporting evidence. Now healthy eating is important. But friends, occasionally we do have treats and cheat days, isn't it? So challenge this thought. Is perfection necessary for health? Absolutely not, right? Perfection is not necessary for health. Then reframe this thought by saying, I aim to eat healthy, but it is okay to have treats. Friends, when you shift your thought from I must follow my diet to I aim to eat healthy and it is okay to have treats, you are accommodating, deviations in your diet plans. Now, when you accommodate, it creates flexibility, it creates lightness. Let's look at an example of a wealth. Now, I must save a specific amount each month or I am irresponsible. What is the thought? I must save a specific amount. Now let's look at the evidence to support this thought. Of course, friends, savings is important, but we agree that unexpected expenses can also happen. Now we got to challenge this thought. Is strict saving always possible every month? Of course not, friends. So reframing this thought by saying, I prefer to save, but it is okay to adjust when needed. Such adjustments makes me flexible, not irresponsible. Friends, do you see? Again, the unhealthy thought is I must, and the reframing thought is I prefer. And when you think like this, I prefer to save, I prefer to be consistent, I choose to, then you are removing that unrealistic expectation that you have for your own self, and you're creating acceptance and flexibility. Let's look at marriage. If the scenario is my partner should understand me, or we have a bad marriage, friends, only because you're married, that does not mean your partner should always understand you, isn't it? So the thought, my partner should understand me, it's very unrealistic. Examine the evidence. Of course, understanding is important, but misunderstandings are also normal in a relationship. So challenge the thought, is constant understanding realistic? Absolutely not, isn't it? So reframe this entire thought by saying, we wish to understand each other, but it is okay to sometimes disagree. Now, friends, when you think like this, what you are doing is you are having greater acceptance. You're accommodating the other person in the marriage. You become more flexible, more accepting. That's kind of smoothens the communication, and that's where practice balanced thinking of communication and effort are the key. Let's look at a relationship. Friends, some of you I know, we say, I must always make my friends happy or I am a bad friend. Friends, I must always make my friends happy. Is that thought even realistic? Isn't it? So challenge that thought. Is it possible to always make all your friends happy? No, isn't it? Now, does that mean that you become a bad friend? Of course not. So reframe this thought by saying, I try or I wish to be a good friend, but it is okay to have healthy boundaries. Friends, ultimately, healthy relationships involves give and take, isn't it? You are not expected to make, everybody happy all the time, is the entire crux of this situation. So again, I must and, gets replaced by I try or I wish. Let's look at career. Now, friends, if I am at my career, if I'm let's say, an IT professional, if I think like I must always be best at my job or I'm a failure. Friends, we all must have heard, right? Give your best, give your best. But is it truly possible to give your best at all the time? Of course, it is not, isn't it? So, doing well is important at work, but we all have our ups and downs, isn't it? We all have our bad days. So, challenge this thought. Is it realistic to always give the best? Aren't there bad days? Aren't there factors out of your control? So, reframe this thought by saying, I aim to do my best, but it is okay to have challenges, not being able to do my best occasionally, right? Friends, settle for less than perfection, right? Aim for good, aim to be better, aim to be the best as well. But if the best is not getting delivered, don't, punish yourself. Okay, go easy with yourself. Again, bring in more flexibility in your thought process. That's the key here. Friends, let's look at a 15-year-old student. That guy must or girl must be thinking, I have to get an A on every test or I'm a failure. Now, again, do I necessarily have to get an A on every test or getting a B? Does that mean I'm a failure? Of course not, isn't it? So challenge that thought. Do I always need to get an A to be successful? Of course not. Reframe the thought by saying, I aim to get an A. However, getting a B does not mean I'm a failure. I focus on giving my best. Let's look at a 25-year-old IT professional who must be thinking like, I must never make mistakes at work. Of course, friends, accuracy is important. That is your supporting evidence. But on the other hand, the contradictory evidence is everyone makes mistakes, isn't it? And we learn from it. So challenge the thought, is it realistic to never make mistakes? And reframe this thought, I should aim for accuracy, but mistakes are part of learning. Again, you are accepting your nature and you're accepting yourself as that I'm okay to make mistakes and learn from it. Let's look at a 35-year-old entrepreneur. If that guy must be thinking my business must succeed immediately, again the must comes here, right? Now look at the evidence. Uh, Is the evidence success is important? Yes, but business often takes time to grow. So challenge this thought by, is immediate success realistic? Then you can reframe the thought by saying, I aim for success, but patience is the key. And practicing balanced thinking would mean progress takes time and effort. Let's look at another example of a 45-year-old homemaker. Now, if the thought is, I must keep the house spotless or I'm a bad homemaker, if that is the thought, examine the supporting evidence. Of course, cleanliness is important, but the contradictory evidence is a little mess is normal, isn't it? Is it truly possible to always keep the house spotless? The answer is no. So reframe the thought by thinking, I aim for cleanliness, but it's okay if it is not perfect. Then a 60-year-old retired person could think like, I must stay busy at all times, right? If or I am wasting my retirement. Friends, this thought again is, so heavy and so unrealistic, isn't it? Like, I must stay busy at all time. Is it truly practical? Is it truly realistic? So is this constant activity necessary? Of course not. So reframe the thought by saying, I should stay active, but it is okay to relax, right? Balancing between an activity and relaxation is more healthy rather than just being active all the time. Friends, I hope this video was useful and helpful. And by listening to this, I truly hope that you feel that sense of freedom and, maybe the pressure taken off or the stress, reducing or your shoulder relaxing. Whatever it is, just, give it a like, give it a comment and share this video with your friends as well. You know, and friends, if you like what you just witnessed, there is a full course on wellnesstribe.net where I take step-by-step approach on CBT and REBT on how we can use CBT to, to navigate everyday life stressors. And the link is in the description below. Friends, I hope this video was helpful, useful. Till then, you take care. Please share your comments, and I shall, speak to you soon. Thank you.